Robert Thibodeau, MayflowerBookshop.com, at your higher self service. Today I'd like to share with you what I think are some of the most poignant and important points about Christmas. Whether you're Christian or not doesn't even matter. It's a massive holiday and actually a holy day that very few realize. You have the winter solstice. The nights are the longest. The days are the shortest. All the great spiritual teachers, avatars, Krishna, Mithras, Apollo, Jesus, about 50 of them were born at solstice or Christmas time. And what's that about? Well, this is what it's about. We birth the light. We renew our inner self. We look within. We try to be still and fathom the sun spark and the Isis Sophia Mary Virgin, the spiritual pureness of our inner space with a spark of the wisdom, love, and will of the sun within our hearts and deep soul at around solstice time and the next 4 days till Christmas on December 25th. Reveal the opportunity to renew our physical, etheric, astro, and participating awakened ego, the reincarnating ego, not the ego that separates us, but the ego that unites us out of freedom and love. The elementals of earth, water, air, and the fire of the pure self are rekindled, rooted, and renewed from solstice to Christmas. From solstice to January 2nd, January 2nd being the day that the earth is the closest to the sun, it tilted away, so in the north here where it's cold and it's even snowing today. But during this time, solstice to January 2nd are the 12 days where each day represents January, February, March, April. Each day represents and reflects what could very well happen unless we consciously participate with something greater to happen or different direction. But if you take a notebook and you start with the solstice and you go for 12 days and you take notes, that each day is like the first day is January, the first 24 hours, after the exact solstice. The next 24 hours represents February and then March, April, all the way through the months. The Chumash Indians of Southern California, way back, they're not around anymore, I don't think. They would do this, they're medicine men. You couldn't talk to or touch the medicine men, and for 12 days they would walk around and take notes. They probably wrote on bark. And then at the end of the 12 days, they would announce prophetic revelations about the possibility of the future in the next 12 months. Each year is 13 new and full moons approximately and 12 solar months. You might say that we're trying to unite spirit with matter and awaken a mind stream continuum. And all initiation that I talk about in my book, Hermetic, Rosicrucian, Grail, Tarot, and I talk about it in Astrological Aspects, the art, the astrology book, lots of esoteric passages about this idea of the higher self, the Father, Son, Holy Ghost, the Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, the Osiris, Isis, Horus, the interlaced triangles of the spirit and matter with the middle, the all-seeing eye or awakening, the pyramid, with the all-seeing eye on every dollar bill, the oneness, that The oneness that reunites spirit and matter from the heart mind. You know, you could say your mind understands a bit of what I'm saying, or your own version, and then you breathe it into your heart, and the breath weaves the head and heart, the two wings of the soul, so that you can fly anew, you know, you can root anew, you can like renew your perception and understanding. Our co-creative participation with the whole of the universe, rooted in the stillness of what's yet to be within. The space we're trying to create is the space that allows duality to exist simultaneously. So whenever we see conflict or war or struggle or opposites, the polarity of opposites, whenever we see the conflict of opposites, we can start to learn that there's a space between and all around that we can reoccupy and renew and pacify and bring peace and a bit of awakenedness. And mindfulness. So the thing with Christmas, it's like the Great Pyramid. There's a triangle of the Atma Buddha Manas, the higher self, you know, the universal truth, love, and mind that transforms the thinking, feeling, and willing. But that's initiation, like the way of initiation and its results, Steiner, or H.P. Blavatsky's 3-chaptered Voice of the Silence, where at the end of the 3rd chapter, she goes off on like a 4th tangent of the transformation of death to immortality, the transformation of the thinking, feeling, willing into the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, into the awakened stillness, the awakened virtue bliss, and the awakened ability to appear anywhere needed, to awaken higher consciousness and alleviate suffering. The kind of bodhisattva, Buddha resolve. In alchemy, it's the creating of the philosopher's stone, the oneness without one looking at it, a wholeness and oneness without us looking at it, that creates a stillness that can birth light and life out of love. In Rudolf Steiner's Foundation Stone Meditation, there's 3 major parts of the Father going into the depth, the Son from the east to west as a crossroads kind of creation, and then the Holy Spirit from the depth calling to the heights, and then comes into this with this threefoldness of spirit, soul, body. Steiner goes into this 4th level of the turning point of time, where light comes into the heads of the smart ones, kings and queens and leaders, and light comes into the heart of the shepherd or the gardeners, the caretakers of the earth. And from our heart, we are founded and reborn and resurrected into the seeing or participating with the whole of the world. I remind you, Socrates said that happiness was the byproduct of and co-creative with the idea of awakening a more fuller participation with the whole of life. And at the Mayflower bookshop where I am, the Mayflower bookshop and myself, here to quicken what nature is taking too long to do. I think all spiritual teachings are trying to do that. And what it's awakening is a more fuller participation with all of life. When it comes to Christmas, we're talking about that, like, we're on the 4th earth and there's 3 to go. We're just past the Kali Yuga, maybe. we're at the midpoint of a descent of the spiritual soul into matter. And there's kind of like a turning point in death and resurrection mystery that's around Rosicrucian impulses and Ma, Sun, the son of Ma Sun, the free builders of the inner temple and the outer great Gothic cathedrals maybe, but the inner temple of wholeness and light and life and love. So the pyramid has a point at the top and a triangle, but it has a four-sidedness at the bottom. The Christmas tree is a triangle, and usually there's a stand that has four corners that holds it up. So it's the four corners of the earth and the four seasons that hold. Like Rudolf Steiner said, one of the easiest ways to become clairvoyant was to watch the breath of the year emerge and rise from solstice to summer solstice, from winter to summer solstice. The breath of the earth rises, and in the winter the crystals grow, but in the summer all nature outside grows, and then it comes back in through the autumn and the Michaelmas mysteries back into the earth. The breath takes a whole year the earth takes a whole year to breathe. So you have the Christmas tree is the universal like truth and love and mindfulness that awakens the fourfoldness of the physical, emotional, mental, and ego. The ego is attached to the animal and the lower realms, right? The three lower worlds that the Tibetans always say they're afraid to fall into, the hell realm and the animal realm and the ghost realm, where a lot of people live in a kind of psychology of ghosts in the past that isn't real, or it's real different for everybody. It's different for everybody. And so it's kind of illusory and difficult to maneuver sometimes. So you have the Christmas tree is the triangle, and the idea is that the three wise men of the thinking, feeling, and willing follow the star of the higher self, or the Christos, or the Krishna, or the Hermes, or the Ahura Mazda, right, or the Brahma, the Buddha, the enlightened one, the fully participant, all-knowing, all-powerful, you get it? Omniscient, omnipresent, that kind of thing. So the Christmas tree is an emblem and a sigil and a magical, for most people, unconscious archetype of these energetic forces that, like in the Masonic apron, you have the triangle over the cube, like in home plate in baseball, created by Masons and Theosophists in its modern version. And you have that cube, with the triangle. And there's moments in certain initiations where the triangle is downward pointing into the cube, but then it turns around again and we come back up. And so this is all symbolic. You have baseball, you have home plate and first, second, third, and back home as 5 stages. And you have the 5-pointed star over the Christmas tree, over the master of ceremonies here. You have the 5-pointed star on top of the Christmas tree. And if you're ready to follow the star to your higher self, you travel these many lifetimes that ornament the ornaments on the tree and the winding path of lights that go up to the top of the tree. And the ornaments are the wisdom and experience that we've learned over our many lifetimes, our many moments. And not to worry. If you're not ready for the star at the top of the tree, to climb the Vision Quest mountain to the top, the pole star. If you're not ready for that, then the cornucopia opens at the bottom of the tree with the presents, the Christmas presents. The present moment, like in your head when you're thinking it's past right away, and the lower third of your body is the future, that when you whatever you do down there, digestion, love, whatever you do down there, exercise, it's kind of in the future. You find out if it was good or not. And the head is kind of the past, unless you hold very still. And then the heart is the present, see? So the presents at the bottom of the tree are to keep you in the game of unwrapping the mystery. Nothing you get is going to last very long, right? You can have the $800 million boat sitting atop the poor Mediterranean Sea, polluting, trying to separate yourself from the mass populace. You can be in Dubai or New York or LA or Chicago or London, Moscow, Germany, Africa, New Zealand. I mean, you could be anywhere and trying to wire yourself up. But we're participants with the whole of life on the earth. And everything that's happening on the planet, we can feel. So I behoove you and share with you that the time of Christmas, like now, the 17th of December, 18th, 19th, the sun is conjunct the galactic center, which is the pole star. It's a starry, young starry hot stars and an alchemical, what's called a black hole, but it's really the womb of the great goddess. It's really, the men's club called it a black hole, okay? It's like the Vajra Yogini, the Maha Vajra Yoni. They talk about jagged yoni, Blavatsky talks about it in The Secret Doctrine. Space, the last frontier. What was, is, and always will be. Space. Your inner space digests all your experience. And it recreates the moment and the future. So we have this space and we have the light and we have movement, thinking and body and kind of a lust for life, vitality for life, if you want to call it that. And we have an ability to fall in love with everything. Once you know the plant or the tree or the dog or the bird, like once you know the gemstone, you fall in love with everything. You can fall in love with the whole earth, and we should, because we're killing the earth. And the problem with alien intelligence, the problem with alternative intelligence, AI, artificial intelligence, the problem is it doesn't love the earth. We seek outer space, but we don't have inner space of peace. And the few people that come to the great understanding that we're all brothers and sisters, and we share a spiritual love, and we share a great oneness that comes through each one of us in a very unique way. When we have the oneness within, we can enjoy the differences. When we're divided within, we demand oneness outside, and it's killing everybody. And then we can't find the oneness, so we wall it up or we try to own everything. I don't want to get lost in... I mean, if you want to know the politic of it, my friend Marianne Williamson, Marianne2024.com, and that guy Robert Kennedy, I met his dad, real briefly. I mean, John Lennon had it. Jimi Hendrix had it. We have to get it. It's our turn now. It's our turn to perceive the oneness and perceive how far we have to go. So Christmas, I wanted to just share with you the Christmas idea, and the Hanukkah and the double cube of 8 sides, or the octave of 8 candles. The idea of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. You put a 1 at the top and then 2 below that and 3 below it. But you get this Christmas tree. And you can add, excuse me, sipping my coffee here. Went down the wrong pipe. You can add those numbers together and you get the Kabbalah of 10, or you get a double cube with 8. And, you add this 1 at the end and you have the little spike at the bottom of the root for the Christmas tree. It's ancient Egyptian, Atlantean, Chaldean, Babylonian mystery of the 8 and the higher octave of the 7 in music. It's another mystery. And the whole mystery of the Passover is a different time of the year. All the schools have this relationship to the 4 seasons and the 4 chambers of the heart, and the mystery of the 5th chamber as the rose, that blooms at the center of the heart on the cross of our fourfoldness of the physical, etheric, astral, and ego. And of course, the ancient rose is 5-petaled, and nature, the lily, is 6-petaled. So we have this relationship of the lily. I am the rose of Sharon and the lily of the valley, spoken by Solomon, the triple sun, S-O-L-O-M-O-N. You have this idea of the mixing of the rose and the lily. The rose is a generic source of all fruit and the lily of all grain. So the idea of the bread and wine, the Melchizedek mysteries, these are ancient mysteries. The Tibetans partake in them. The Jewish tradition, mysticism, and ritual, and the communion of the Christian. I mean, this is an ancient... There are spiritual truths here that we must find to be able to maneuver and manage and map out our journey. So I wanted to mention just a few things about Christmas that I'm getting a little lost. And, the whole idea of Santa Claus coming from the North Pole and the descent of the fire. There's a Kundalini that rises, but there's one that descends. And in The Voice of the Silence by H.P. Blavatsky, she talks about the mother Kundalini from the heart. But in Santa Claus, we have the idea of Sanat Kumara. Sanat is like the same spelling as Santa. The virgin angel, the Michaelic mystery, the alchemy mysteries of Michael. In my books, I talk about Michael and the I and the Y exchange, so it's alchemy. The Archangel Michael, the Archai, some people think, and participating still with Archangel activities. Each of us has an angel that's trying to become an archangel that is participant with the whole of the year and the whole of all life. And so Christmas is part of that. And Santa Claus comes from the north above our head and descends to the sex center and the will center and the lower third to see if we've been good or bad with our activities and deeds, virtuous or non-virtuous, to see if we're going to get presents and gifted more to do more. Aristotle thought we should have enough money and protection and education and food and shelter. And then when we get older, you can't get rich unless you're giving something back to society. You can't just get rich and take off on your own. Aristotle, student of Plato, teacher of Alexander the Great, who planted Greek mysticism and Greek mystery school books all over when he so-called conquered the world. And that was discovered and triggered the Renaissance and the whole consciousness soul era, going from the 1300s into the 1400s. And then we have the Holy Grail mysteries and the Troubadour mysteries and the Cathar mysteries, and they kind of succumb to the authorities of the time in church and state because people weren't ready to be free. And then the Rosicrucians learned that you couldn't just build a temple and then say, "Here I am, come to church." So they became the real Rosicrucians are the true and invisible Rosicrucians. True and invisible Rosicrucians, because they're building an invisible temple within humanity, within your home, within your body, in your heart, mind, soul. Your thinking, feeling, willing are working. They're the three workers that are trying to work with higher purposes. The ego that is the master builder, who has the word, who has the AUM, the Om, the Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, the Trinity of universal truth, love, and mind. That's the word that transforms the thinking, feeling, willing of the physical, etheric, astral. And so in the Masonic, you can read about it with Manly Hall Blavatsky and Isis Unveiled, Steiner's Freemasonry rewrite and books about the three ruffians, or in Bhagavad Gita, the three gunas, the three goons, man. In the first class material of Steiner, you know, when the physical, emotional, mental, the physical, etheric, astral are cut off from the reincarnating ego, and the ego just takes pleasure and pain and everything. See, this is a problem on our planet, is that we don't have spiritual leaders that can guide the super rich anymore. The spiritual leaders all too often fall into money changers. Jesus threw the money changers out of the temple, you know. I mean, I don't think we can do that now, but I think it would be great to be re-educated for the love of all life and the light that reveals itself in all things. Okay, so I've said too much. I want to talk about the descent of Santa Claus rather than Satan, because Santa spells Satan. And you know, there's not really a devil. There's ignorance and delusion. And there's poor people. They're poor inside. They're poor outside, and that's a problem that can be addressed with Marianne Williamson's New Economic Plan or some of Robert Kennedy Jr.'s ideas. There's a lot of people that have those kind of ideas. I'm talking about getting rich within. So the outer crass materialism doesn't intimidate you and make you weird. And so you want to kill yourself or numb out or fly away and escape in some art or something, some craziness. Get it? Did I say enough? So the Christmas tree is the triangle. The four corners, how do they say that? It's like 4 square meals a day. What's that about? Like you might eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's 3, like the 3 bases in baseball, like the 3 chairs in masonry, the wishful master and the junior warden and senior warden, the 3 in the cube, and there's an empty chair there. That empty chair in the early Rosicrucian Masonic lodges and in the many other schools have this like threefoldness with this fourfoldness, because there's an emptiness that we have to practice. The empty chair is where our higher self should sit, not our lower ego. Does that make sense? Do you get it? I think that I couldn't share these things before because people weren't really ready, and I hesitated at sharing, especially Rudolf Steiner's esoteric renewal of the mystery schools, and that really did come through Blavatsky and the Eleusinian mysteries and the Greek mysteries. It came through the best of the Babylonian, Chaldean, Roman, and Egyptian and Persian and ancient India and Atlantis. It really did. That doesn't really matter as much. What matters now is that you get that you have a higher trinity and a threefoldness, that we're always working from threefoldness. A higher threefoldness is transforming the lower 3. That we have a physical, emotional, and mental, physical, etheric, and astral that are in trouble. And they'll turn on us, because unless we awaken our higher self, our lower self freaks out. It just freaks out that it's going to die, and it's hungry, and it's cold, and it wants nourishment, and it wants something else, and nothing is good enough. And so we have to learn to be quiet. And conjoined with that quiet within, that emptiness practice or stillness, the quiet mind, becoming at one and learning from the stillness within that awakens new perception. I think we have to bring, I think the fastest way is to study the core of any religion you're involved with. But all the religions seem to fall short, so it's very good to study the other religions. The Great Initiates by Charest is a good book. Isis Unveiled, The Secret Doctrine by H.P. Blavatsky, or her Key to Theosophy. Steiner's Rosicrucian Wisdom and Outline of Occult Science. These are all really great books. And Tibetan Buddhism and Osho and the great fairy tales and that represent spiritual teachings once you know. And yoga has become aerobics and often falls short of teaching the true union with the higher self. Because the real union of the higher self is not to go to heaven. You might go to heaven and have a vision and see better, but the whole idea is to bring heaven on earth while you're here. But we have to also remember that in the Christian mystery tradition, Jesus the Christ said, "My kingdom is not of this earth." That does not mean that we're leaving the earth, by the way. That does not mean we can destroy the earth because we don't live here. It means that it's not the first, second, third, or fourth earth, that there's a fifth earth and a sixth and a seventh. And that has to do with our awakening participatory mind and our awakening love for it all and each other. It has to do with our awakening sense of oneness with all life. These are just words. We have to make them in our experience. And that's why sometimes ritual can be good. The ritual of going to bed at the same time. There's like different rituals, right? I mean, there's rituals for like gardening. And I think the Masonic and Rosicrucian ones are interesting. The Golden Dawn. I mean, there's a lot of the Rosy Cross. There's a lot of, what Rudolf Steiner did in the Foundation Stone Meditation was he tried to put it all in there. You have Michaelic intelligence, cosmic intelligence. You have the Rosicrucian motif that we're born of God and we die and become through the Christos and we're renewed by the Spirit. You have the Masonic idea of the first three parts of Rudolf Steiner's Foundation Stone Meditation. And if really I advise you to get that. There's different versions. They're all kind of good, I've been enjoying Prokofiev's, but I changed a little bit of it. But you can look at all the versions and take your own, but get the Foundation Stone Meditation, and it's like the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and there's the limbs, the heart, and the thinking, holding still. And then you have this fourth member, and that fourth member is the empty chair. The fourth member is us being empty of head and open and awakened in our heart for all these teachings. Otherwise, we're just a barking dog complaining. A lot of people are barking dogs, like most of the people in the media are barking dogs that are complaining that they want something more, or there's a noise, or they're being unsettled. They don't want to grow. I don't know. So I hope I've been helpful. I hope you can follow the star to the top of the tree and keep your eye on the ever becoming present that's unfolding before you. And that we have a spine for uprightness, that we have an ability to be upright and go the middle way. Not the right and left door of the Goetheanum, but the middle way. Or we can take the right or left and do the winding way. In the Goetheanum, you have these three doors like Chartres Cathedral and the Gothic cathedrals. And you can get to this, you go through these like different colored windows and, the 7 stages of the earth. And you kind of see before you what we're going through. And you go through this kind of like round, a straight line through a roundness. Straight line in the circle is the 10, right? The one in the circle, the one in the 0 are a big mystery. And there's a straight line from the middle door of the Goetheanum or the Chartres Cathedral to the transept and altar, or the small cupola in the Goetheanum, and the representative of man, as above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven. The Hermetic Christian axiom that the human being, each of us, is this lightning rod between the deepest earth and the highest heaven. And in our breath that weaves our heart mind, we can awaken a true Christmas, where we recognize the Christ or the Christos. We divine the divine in each other. And we work with that. We don't try to just work with money. We don't try to just work with things and manipulating emotions and mind. That we work with the divine first. The Spirit in each other. And from that holiness, we come back into this outer world. sometimes we just have to deal with the outer world and clean up messes and deal with things. Okay, so I'm going too far. I think you have the idea of Christmas, and you have the idea of the triangle and the cube, and you have the idea of the blazing star that each of us is becoming and or following at first, the higher teachings. So this is Robert Thibodeau, author of Hermetic Rosicrucian, Grail Tarot, where I tried to put a bunch of secrets in there and purposely didn't edit it very well, but it's got its merit. And the Tree of Life and the Kabbalah, the triangle, the six-pointed star, and the circle and cross. If you have a triangle on your forehead and a six-pointed star in your heart, interlaced triangles of spirit and matter, and that six-pointed hexagon, the Solomon seal, the interlaced triangles, like you'll notice that there's a going out and back in of these little triangles. And so, this centripetal force, evolutionary force of the heart being full and empty and then a rhythm between, that's a big thing. That's a 12-foldness in a way. And then you have the circle and cross at the bottom of the Tree of Life, which is the sigil of the Rosicrucians. And there's a whole thing we could talk about with the cube unfolded as the cross, and you get this relationship of the vertical line 1, 2, 3, 4, and the horizontal line 1, 2, 3, right, and the cross with the cube. So you have this peculiar relationship between 6 and 7, because one of the cubes in the middle at the transept of the cathedral of the unfolded the unfolded cube, you have this like one square is being used by the vertical and the horizontal, so you count it twice in a way. And that's our heart, that's spiritual and material. Rudolf Steiner said that it's only in that space of the heart, in the chest, in that cube kind of space, in the heart, that we are free. That in our upper and lower third, we're not really totally free. A lot of karma gets worked out, and necessity of the collective future. A lot of us are working out our personal karma, and we have no freedom of true self. It's a combination of personal karma from the past, but also collective karma and the necessity of the future. So the Trinity here is that, yes, you're alone, and no, you're not alone. There's somebody else in the room. There's a whole world, and often we're not even counted as a self, and other times it's all about me, mine, I, right? So and then there's this mind. The Trinity is this mind between the me and you. Wherever two or more of you gather, I will be there, Jesus the Christ says. And that is that space that allows duality to exist simultaneously, that we need to rediscover within each other and between each other. So this is Robert. I could go on forever and probably will. Even when I'm gone, I'll still be here thinking about it and seeing what we can do. Okay, and the Foundation Stone meditation, at the end, it uses the word we. So you can't be selfless unless you have a self to be less of. So I'm encouraging you on your unique expression of yourself, that you try to study more and share in this knowledge. Robert Thibodeau, MayflowerBookshop.com, Mayflower Bookshop in Berkeley, Michigan, at your higher self-service. Until next time, be well. Enjoy the journey. Om, Om, Om. Be beautiful.